Hi, welcome back. This is another episode in the Futures Desk 100K Challenge, and it is August 12th, 9:20 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, 11:20 a.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, New York session. And we're taking pivot zone trades on this account. You can see bookmap here. Essentially, a couple of zones of interest. We have a 64, 44, 50 zone down to the bottom side, and to the top side, you can see we have this is micro ES, by the way. We have several price levels that have 100 plus 200 orders stacked up all the way from 64.48 all the way up to 64.55, 64.56, maybe even higher from what I have visible. We have had some buying pressure after swinging down to lower prices after consumer price index news, which I slept through. So a little late start for me. But we're going through these pivot trades, and I'm going to bring you to the interface for the futures desk. And forgive me if I'm a little slow with the screen switch. I had to switch to one monitor due to breaking it playing on my virtual reality headset. I was playing tennis and I swung into something that basically slammed my additional monitor down onto the floor, and it's all messed up. So we took one trade already this morning in the New York session based on these pivot zones. So I'll talk a little bit more about that potentially later. But it's used. I have a calculator from my coach who allows us to basically input the different pivot highs and pivot lows to determine when a pivot high is broken, a place to enter on a breakout to take a small profit before potentially price reverses or continues higher in either condition, and vice versa for shorts. So it's a pretty cool tool. I like it. I'm using it on the futures desk challenge. I'm also taking other types of trades, but this is the one I primarily used for the past 2 days. And essentially, the first one I took was down here where we entered and took profit. So we entered 64.40 and we took profit right there. So that was our first trade. So pivot zone worked out pretty well. Retraced a little bit, then basically took off and hit our target. You're always going to take a little bit of a heat. That's why we have these bigger stop loss zones. So in this case, for this trade, our stop loss zone is all the way down here. 64.29.25. Now, we could always adjust that, right? So if we look at bookmap, and we'll likely do that now, 64.44.50. Or so. I don't think we're going to swing all the way back down to there, but we're just going to give it room. We'll keep an eye on what's going on the actual platform. So I've explained how the trade works and what I'm looking for, but we'll go ahead and go through that again. So what we're looking for, like in this first trade, was first the buyers had control over the sellers, green above red at the area of entry. We also had a volume surge just before, where volume bars for the were for the previous bars were above the 10-day average. This is kind of like a last confluence thing that I look at. I don't necessarily think it's the most important. The third thing I'm looking for is this ADX line, which kind of shows this, I guess, the momentum per se, or if it's picking up speed. And yeah, and all of those were good indicators that we were in a good trade. Also, I have multiple VWAPs drawn. It gets a little bit busy here from swing highs and swing lows that I find important in my analysis. And price was above all four of those VWAPs. Now, I actually like where the stop is because we may come back and test this VWAP before moving higher. That's why we have to give it a little bit of space. A lot of times price comes from the previous swing low, retests it, and then keeps moving in the direction. So I'm okay with where our stop location is. We got about $100 of risk on this trade. So I might even move it a little bit lower. But I also like that we have this high volume area on the volume profile that's also protecting our stop. So we also have some resistance that may turn into support right here at 64.3650. So I like where our stop is, and that's in line with what the pivot zone calculator gives us. Unfortunately, I can't offer that to anybody, but yeah, it's a cool tool that I have. You can manually calculate that. I don't know how to do that, so unfortunately, I can't explain how that works. But essentially, we're looking for breakouts of pivot highs and pivot lows. And this one is likely probably from this pivot right here. It said if price breaks above it, it's likely to move up to here. So that's kind of cool. So that's pretty much how it works, though. We look at DMI, directional movement index, I believe is what it stands for, with the ADX line plotted on top of it. We look for price to be above all the anchored VWAPs. We look for momentum sloping up. Now, here's a good here's interesting, right? So when we entered this trade, right, the ADX was sloping up, but now it's starting to slope down, and we're essentially looks like we're going into a consolidation. So we broke this high right here and swung low, swung a little bit higher, and now we're consolidating. Likely to move higher again, hopefully, but there are no guarantees. But because this ADX is sloping down, buyers are losing control. It's starting to even out, and the volume is actually starting to drop below the 10-day, or excuse me, not the 10-day, but the 10 period average. So now it looks like it's increasing with volume. We're coming back above that 10-day average, but it's selling volume, or at least sellers have control. So we're going to see what happens. Again, pullbacks are definitely expected. So we're not too concerned. And I'm likely going to stay in this trade for a bit. and we can always get out if we don't like what we see. We don't have to wait for it to hit our stop. So a couple rules. We can always close the trade out at any time before we hit the take profit or before we hit the stop loss if the data tells us to do so. What we can't do is move our stop loss to break even or take partial TP. We just either take it all, lose it all, or get out early and take what we've gained, or get out early and cut our losses faster. So those are kind of our entry and exit rules. We have a few different things that we look at to make sure that our decisions are solid and at all costs protect your capital. So get out of the trade if you don't like what you see. Like, I think it would be completely valid, in my opinion, being new to this strategy, based off what I see, to get out of this trade right now. But the reason why I'm not getting out of the trade is because we had a green volume bar. So we had a volume surge to the upside above the 10-day period for this last 2,000 tick bar. So there were 2,000 trades that happened here. It was above the 10 period average, and we got a green candle. So to me, that's a positive signal to not be concerned about price turning around yet. Although momentum in the ADX it's still above 23, but it is sloping down. If it drops below 20, then, and it's still continuing to move down, I think that's a signal that strength is dying out. So that's something we'll have to look at. A couple things that I really like about this platform, the funding desk. We'll just kind of switch gears here. You can journal here. I'm not a big journaler, but I've been using it just to keep track of everything and the types of trades I'm taking. So I'm getting better at it. I'm very resistant to journaling on paper. I like the video. I like uploading to YouTube. It's definitely my preference. So, but I'm trying. Okay, I'm trying some different things. I'm seeing if I can be more accountable to myself. And because all these tools are available to me, I'm gonna try to use them. So I'm still getting used to it. We got daily journal, a couple different setups that I use. If you want to configure daily goals, you can. I haven't used that quite yet. And what? Let's see here. Looking at some reports. Today, winners and losers. We have no losers yet. We are, it says losing trades, but this trade isn't closed yet. So I don't believe it's a losing trade yet. Okay, so we are still in this trade. Still getting used to it. So bear with me. This is a daily journal. I don't want to look at the daily journal. Kind of want to look at the trade that we're currently in. So that's this one. Okay. So we can enter our notes here. Okay. So this is a pivot zone trade. Breakout. Say, we'll add some bullets here. So we could say ADX above 20, sloping up, DMI plus, that's the green down here, greater than DMI or DM minus, which is the red. Okay, and we'll call volume surge greater than 10 MA on previous bars. Price above key anchored VWAPs. So that's our setup, right? And another thing, price not near point of control. So that's kind of our trade right there. Point of control down here, right? For this is a visual volume profile, visible range. So that's why we got in this trade, right? And then we can take a picture of it. And we close it out, right? A couple other things we can do is I believe we can add some more. We can elect a setup pivot calculator trade, and we can tag it with MES. We don't know if it's positive or negative yet, but so pretty cool. So I think that's a cool thing to have built into the uh, the the interface. So we're gonna go ahead and pause this video for a moment, and then we'll catch up when we have some more information. But what I do like is that buyers look like they're stepping back into control, and our ADX is still above 20, and we're looking like we're heading in the right direction. Let's just check in before I pause back into Bookmap again. It looks like we're moving up. Buyers have control, and we're pushing. So everything looks good. So I'll pause for the moment, and we'll be back shortly. Okay, back with a little bit of an update. We're just kind of consolidating, and what I'm seeing on the ADX and the DMI is that buyers and sellers are kind of, there's a little bit of indecision, maybe some accumulation or distribution happening here, but ADX is starting to flatten out. It's still above 22 though, so we may, looking at Bookmap, there's not a ton going on above or below, and CVD is pretty flat, so not, there's a little bit of aggressive buying happening, but we're still pretty flat here. So I guess technically I need to stay in the trade. The only thing that I don't like about it, obviously I haven't used this strategy enough to be a pro at it, no way, shape, or form, is that we have these three red volume bars, and it looks like volume is kind of starting to lean towards the bearish side. It looks like the sellers are starting to gain a little bit of momentum. Buyers are starting to lose a little bit of momentum, and the ADX is flattening out. So it looks like we're getting a little bump right now. So looks like if we go back to the bookmap, what screen are we on? Let's get back to bookmap. You can see that aggressive buyers are stepping in. And we just ripped through a level. So maybe we continue upward, right? So we just grabbed all the orders at 64.52. We're working our way up towards 64.53, 64.54, 5, and 6, where we have some more orders. Looks like aggressive buyers are still stepping in. 762. A little more than 150. And CVD is starting to increase due to the aggressive buying. Still pushing the price up. So I think having Bookmap in addition to these other tools like the ADX and yeah, I think this is a good holistic approach to following the price action and making good decisions. So we're still pushing up here. You can see that all the VWAPs are slanted upward. The ADX is slanted upward. Uh, Still lower than average volume over the last two candles, but they are green. Excuse me, volume bars. And yeah, it's looking pretty good. ADX is increasing to 24, and the ratio of DMI plus to DMI minus is 21 to 10. So we'll pause the video and come back on an update. Okay, so I actually closed this trade out, and I'll tell you why. Let me pull it up here. So looking at the last, what's this, since 10:41 to about noon, the point of control moved up to where we currently are, and it's like we're consolidating here. So obviously, it's a break-even trade. Um, I got out, exited 45 cents, maintaining our win ratio, but whatever. Um, it's a nothing, right? So we say break even because point of control. So we are at a consolidation and point of control area. So the point of control essentially moved up, right? If we're down here, um, our point of control is down. We moved up, started to consolidate, and now our point of control is up, kind of where price is. So that's why I got out of the trade. So we'll pause the video. I'm gonna go grab some coffee, heat up some food, and we'll see if we have another trade here. But for now, we're out of that one. All right, so we clearly closed this trade out just a little bit early, but that's okay. I think I calculated this point of control, probably taking into account just too small of a time period. But lesson learned, we did not lose money. We protected our capital, and we're up about $33 on the morning session, which is better than being down $33. So um, we'll finish up here and call it a video. And if we get into another trade, we'll make sure we put it up here.